Atlas's mysterious escort objects repositioned themselves during the event, forming a different geometric pattern than their usual configuration. Then, without warning, Atlas fired a beam of concentrated energy directly at Earth. What happened when that beam hit our planet is unlike anything scientists have ever witnessed. The event occurred suddenly, with multiple observatories detecting a massive spike in electromagnetic output from Atlas. For exactly 47 seconds, the object focused an intense beam of coherent light toward Earth with precision, suggesting deliberate targeting rather than random emission. The beam's power was extraordinary. It was visible to multiple space-based telescopes and even triggered alerts on military early warning systems designed to detect hostile energy weapons. But here's what makes this truly alarming. The beam didn't just pass by Earth or dissipate harmlessly. It hit something. Ground-based detection stations confirmed the beam made contact with a specific location, a remote region housing one of the world's most advanced radio telescope arrays. That facility experienced a total system shutdown the moment the beam hit. When the beam cut off after 47 seconds, Atlas's electromagnetic signature returned to normal as though nothing had happened. But Earth's ionosphere was disturbed for hours afterward. Satellites in the beam's path malfunctioned temporarily. And most disturbing of all, the targeted radio telescope facility recorded data during those 47 seconds that researchers are calling impossible. Information was embedded in the beam, encoded in ways no human technology can produce or decode. Before we break down what the beam contained and why it was aimed there, hit that like button and subscribe. Because what scientists found in that transmission changes everything we know about Atlas's intentions. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't a test. Based on precision, power, and targeting, this was deliberate communication. Atlas just forced humanity to receive a message. And now we must figure out what it says. At precisely 3:17 a.m. Universal Time, NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory detected Atlas's surface temperature spiking. Within 8 seconds, the temperature rose by over 5,000 degrees Celsius in a localized region. Proof of massive power systems activating simultaneously. An astrophysicist monitoring the data said, "We saw power generation equivalent to a major nuclear reactor ramping to full output in less than 10 seconds. At 3 hours, 17 minutes and 8 seconds, the beam began, a tightly focused column of electromagnetic radiation spanning multiple wavelengths from radio through visible light into high-energy ultraviolet. The beam's width at the point of origin measured roughly 500 meters across, a tense column of energy by any human standard. Yet what truly stunned the scientists wasn't its size, but its precision. Over a distance of 4 million miles, the beam maintained its shape with almost no divergence. Light by its nature spreads as it travels through space. Even the most powerful human-made lasers lose coherence after a few hundred kilometers. But Atlas defied that rule entirely. The beam didn't scatter. It stayed perfectly columnated, tight, stable, and impossibly focused all the way to Earth. That kind of focusing precision is beyond any known optical or electromagnetic technology. It would require field manipulation, the ability to warp or bend the medium of space itself to prevent dispersion. Some theorized it might use a form of gravitational lensing, shaping the beam along invisible curvature lines. Others suspected quantum confinement, where photons are forced to maintain alignment within a field structure that overrides natural entropy. Either explanation pointed to one conclusion. Atlas was operating on a level of physics humanity had never achieved. When the event occurred, it wasn't just scientists who saw it. Ground-based observatories across the world captured the exact moment the beam fired. In the data feed, a brilliant point of light erupted from Atlas's surface, so bright that it momentarily outshone nearby stars. Within seconds, the light expanded into a narrow, visible line that stretched outward, crossing millions of miles of void like a cosmic searchlight cutting through the darkness. Even amateur astronomers witnessed it. Videos began appearing online within hours, shaky, zoomed-in clips showing a faint but distinct glowing thread connecting the asteroid to Earth's general direction. One observer in Chile described it as surreal. You could actually see the beam stretching through space itself, like something alive. For 41 seconds, the beam held perfectly steady. Instruments measured its wavelength, fluctuating between microwave and optical frequencies with bursts of ionizing radiation that briefly interfered with satellite communications. Then, without warning, it began to pulse. Bright, dim, then total darkness. At exactly 3 hours, 17 minutes, and 55 seconds, the beam vanished completely. To the untrained eye, it might have seemed random, a simple flicker, but data analysis revealed the pattern was deliberate. The intervals were mathematically consistent, following rhythmic spacing identical to structured communication signals. But it wasn't noise. It was code, like someone blinking a flashlight across the solar system, sending a message to anyone capable of noticing. During those crucial 41 seconds, telescopes pointed at Atlas began detecting additional anomalies. Multiple bright points appeared across its surface, faint but distinct. They seemed to ignite in sequence, synchronized with the beam's pulses, forming geometric configurations, triangles, rings, and linear arrays. Some believed these were auxiliary emitters or targeting nodes distributing energy evenly to stabilize the beam. Others speculated they were relay systems guiding and focusing the main emission. Spectrographic analysis from orbiting satellites detected localized increases in radiation across the asteroid's surface consistent with high-energy plasma formation. It was as though Atlas had activated a network of embedded systems, machinery awakening beneath its crust, channeling power toward the beam. For observers on Earth, the event was mesmerizing. For scientists, it was terrifying. Something 4 million miles away had just demonstrated the ability to project energy across interplanetary distances with unerring precision, to modulate that energy in meaningful patterns, and to target multiple global sites simultaneously. Atlas hadn't just reached out. It had chosen to speak, and it had done so using light itself as its voice. The beam didn't just aim at Earth. It aimed precisely at a specific ground location, the Aritzu Observatory Replacement Facility in Puerto Rico. That site was one of the few on Earth actively attempting to communicate with Atlas. The facility's instruments detected the incoming beam just 0.7 seconds before impact. Safety systems activated, but it was too late. Every electronic system failed simultaneously. Circuits tripped, computers crashed, backups died. A facility engineer described it as a massive electromagnetic pulse weapon, but precise, surgical, and strangely gentle. No lasting damage. When the beam ended, power returned, but what the team found next stunned them. Their storage drives, which had been offline, contained 3.2 gigabytes of new data. The files appeared out of nowhere, written at the quantum level while the systems were unpowered. No known human technology can do this. Even stranger, the data wasn't in any known format. Not binary, not ASCII, not machine code. It didn't follow any of the structures humanity uses to store or process information. And yet, despite that, it was undeniably ordered. Every fragment of it showed clear layers of organization, hierarchy, and purpose. It wasn't noise, and it wasn't random. It was as if someone, or something, had built a message out of mathematics itself, using logic structures completely outside human comprehension. At first, analysts thought the data corruption might be due to the electromagnetic pulse that shut down the observatories. But when identical patterns appeared in systems separated by thousands of miles, it became clear this was intentional. Then came the revelation that stunned the scientific world. The beam hadn't just struck Puerto Rico. It had also hit 3 other facilities across the planet: a powerful telescope array deep in the Chinese highlands, a tracking station in Western Australia, and a European Space Agency installation in Spain. 4 continents, 4 precise impacts, 47 seconds apart. Every observatory site described the same unnerving chain of events: a surge of power, sudden system overload, and complete blackout. For several seconds, screens went dark, instruments froze, and data feeds went silent. Then, just as abruptly, everything came back online. But when the systems rebooted, something was different. New files had appeared, seemingly written during the blackout, not in standard formats, but as raw data embedded directly into the drives themselves. Even more disturbing was the fact that none of these facilities were connected. The telescope in Puerto Rico, the array in China, the tracking station in Australia, and the European Space Agency facility in Spain all operated independently, separated by continents and secure networks. Yet, when analysts compared the recovered files, they discovered they were identical, not merely similar, but exact replicas down to the last byte. The formatting, the encryption style, even the timestamps aligned perfectly. That realization sent a chill through mission control. Atlas hadn't contacted one site. It had synchronized its communication across the planet, striking 4 deep space facilities at once. This wasn't a broadcast. It was a targeted intrusion, precise, deliberate, and coordinated. Each beam segment carried encoded information, a staggering 12.8 gigabytes transmitted in just under a minute. To put that in perspective, that's millions of pages of text delivered almost instantaneously, faster than light could have physically traveled between the sites. And it didn't follow any known transmission pathway. The data bypassed ordinary recording systems and appeared directly in the hardware memory, as though Atlas had somehow interfaced with the architecture of the machines themselves. It wasn't just sending a message. It was writing inside our systems, understanding them as if Atlas knew how our technology thinks. The structure of the data defies all known logic. Instead of the simple binary foundation, 0 and 1, it appears to use at least 8 quantum states per bit. That means Atlas could be processing and transmitting information through a multidimensional computational system far beyond anything built on Earth. When researchers began decoding the patterns, they found precise alignments matching pulsar emissions, gravitational wave readings, and specific star positions across our galaxy. It was as if Atlas was defining coordinates, building a universal frame of reference shared across the cosmos. Other portions of the data contained what appeared to be mathematical theorems and proofs, all valid, but expressed in an alien syntax. Some equations described physical relationships that don't exist in our known universe, hinting that Atlas might be operating according to higher-dimensional physics. When scientists visualized fragments of the data, they saw rotating geometric forms, shapes that twisted and folded in impossible ways, as though they existed partially outside 3-dimensional space. Those who studied them said the structures seemed alive, shifting in response to observation, adapting as if aware of being watched. Atlas had done more than send a message. It had mapped our planet, identified our deepest communication nodes, and shown that it could interact with our systems at will. It was contact, but on Atlas's terms. But the message wasn't simple data. Hidden within were countdown sequences, numbers decreasing in perfect intervals. When translated, they point to a date 16 days after the beam event. Atlas gave us information and a deadline. Was it a warning, an invitation, or something else entirely? In 16 days, we'll find out what happens when the countdown reaches 0.